Mel Gibson went on The View when the host thought they would embarrass him on live TV, but within minutes the mood changed after one calm statement from Gibson turned everything around. By the end, the audience was cheering for him while the hosts were left speechless. When Gibson walked onto the stage, he seemed relaxed, smiling and nodding to the crowd. Meanwhile, the hosts, Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, and Sunny Hostin, were ready for what seemed like an ambush rather than an interview. The tension in the room was palpable from the very first question. The conversation began with Whoopi launching into a sarcastic inquiry about Gibson's support for a 100% tariff on foreign films, framing it as censorship and nationalism. This set the tone for what appeared to be a hostile line of questioning designed to corner Gibson. However, instead of reacting defensively or angrily, Gibson responded with poise and clarity. He said, "Supporting American workers isn't censorship, it's survival." These words immediately disarmed the panel, catching them off guard. Gibson expanded on his point, explaining that Hollywood had increasingly prioritized profit over people, outsourcing jobs to international markets where labor is cheaper. He argued that this practice not only undermined American workers but also eroded cultural authenticity. "We're selling out our actors, crews, and neighborhoods to places that don't care about American stories," he added. His remarks resonated deeply with viewers who have long felt alienated by the industry's shift toward globalization at the expense of domestic talent. When Joy Behar attempted to frame Gibson's stance as purely political posturing, he calmly countered by sharing personal anecdotes. For instance, he recounted meeting unemployed crew members who once thrived during Hollywood's golden era but now struggle to find work due to budget cuts and overseas production deals. This humanized his argument, making it harder for the hosts to dismiss outright. It became evident that Gibson wasn't just spouting rhetoric, he genuinely cared about the livelihoods of those behind the scenes. As the discussion progressed, Sunny Hostin brought up Gibson's controversial past, referencing his well-documented racist and sexist remarks. Rather than becoming defensive or evasive, Gibson took full responsibility for his actions. In a moment of raw vulnerability, he admitted, "I made mistakes, big ones, and I paid for them. But the fact that I'm sitting here today means something. I chose to face it, and I'll keep facing it if it means I can help fix what's broken." This candid admission struck a chord with both the studio audience and viewers at home, many of whom erupted into applause. Whoopi tried to regain control of the narrative, suggesting that tariffs couldn't address character flaws. But Gibson delivered a response that silenced the room. "You don't tear down walls by shouting at people. You tear them down by listening, even to the ones you disagree with." This profound insight underscored the importance of dialogue and mutual understanding, themes that are often overlooked in today's polarized climate. As the audience absorbed his words, the energy in the room shifted dramatically. Throughout the segment, Gibson remained composed and articulate, addressing complex issues such as economics, Hollywood's systemic problems, and the need for fair treatment of American workers. He clarified that his advocacy for tariffs wasn't rooted in nationalism but in a desire to hold the film industry accountable for its exploitative practices. "I'm not saying America should shut out the world," he explained. "But we shouldn't sell ourselves short either." His balanced perspective challenged the simplistic labels critics often assign to such debates. Each time the hosts attempted to corner him, Gibson responded with thoughtful answers. When they revisited his controversial history, he acknowledged it directly, stating, "For a long time, I was angry and reckless. I hurt people, and there's no excuse for that. I've apologized, but I don't get to demand forgiveness." This level of accountability stood in stark contrast to the performative apologies commonly seen in public discourse, further endearing him to the audience. Sunny posed another pointed question, accusing Gibson of promoting tough guy nationalism. Without missing a beat, he replied, "I don't think it's tough to want your country to stand on its own 2 feet. I think it's responsible. And I don't think it's nationalism to love the place that raised you and want to treat its people better." His eloquence earned him yet another round of applause, signaling a clear shift in public sentiment. Gibson then turned his attention to Hollywood itself, critiquing its current state. He described the industry as being scared of being irrelevant, scared of honesty, and scared of the very people it claims to represent. He lamented how modern cinema has moved away from challenging power structures and asking hard questions, opting instead for safe, formulaic content. "We used to make films that inspired change," he said. "Now, if you challenge anything, you're labeled toxic, dangerous, outdated." On the topic of accountability and forgiveness, Gibson offered perhaps his most powerful statement: "I'm not against accountability. I'm against selective accountability. We act like redemption is off the table, but only for certain people. You either believe in second chances or you don't. You can't sell forgiveness and cancel it at the same time." This remark highlighted a glaring hypocrisy in societal attitudes toward rehabilitation, sparking reflection among viewers. The turning point came when Gibson declared, "We've convinced ourselves that only one side gets to define what offensive means." This simple yet profound observation silenced the hosts and prompted spontaneous cheers from the audience. Someone shouted, "Let him speak," followed by thunderous applause. At this moment, it was clear that Gibson had won over not just the crowd but also many watching at home. As the show neared its conclusion, Whoopi asked if Gibson had any final words. With characteristic wisdom, he urged viewers to think critically and independently. "Don't let the loudest people in the room decide what you're allowed to think. Don't hand over your voice to people who claim to speak for you, left or right, Hollywood or DC, because once you give it away, you don't get it back." These parting thoughts encapsulated the essence of his message: empowerment through self-reflection and open dialogue. By the time Gibson stood to leave, much of the audience rose to their feet, applauding enthusiastically. The hosts, visibly shaken, struggled to maintain composure during the closing segment. Within hours, clips from the episode flooded social media, accompanied by headlines like "Mel Gibson flips the view on its head" and "The moment the crowd turned." True to form, Gibson declined follow-up interviews or press tours, letting his words stand on their own. The impact of his appearance extended far beyond viral moments. Families across America, including those who had previously dismissed Gibson, found themselves discussing his points. While not everyone agreed with him, his ability to spark meaningful conversations demonstrated the value of engaging with diverse perspectives. Ultimately, Gibson succeeded in doing exactly what he advocated for: tearing down walls through respectful communication. In summary, Mel Gibson's appearance on The View serves as a masterclass in navigating adversity with grace and conviction. Whether addressing economic policies, personal accountability, or societal contradictions, he maintained unwavering integrity. His performance reminds us that true influence stems not from aggression or defensiveness but from the courage to listen, learn, and lead by example. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear your thoughts.